Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Leverage Your Podcast show. Now, if you are guesting on podcasts and they're leaving you with a lot of talk but no tangible results, you might be missing the most important step, which is integrating your podcast guesting into your funnels. What happens often is that guests are viewing podcasting or guesting on podcasts as a visibility only strategy. So they show up, they answer questions, and they want the hosts to do all the heavy lifting and promote them and get them more exposure. But what happens is that you're missing a ton of opportunities to create a seamless path for the listeners to then become leads and clients. And so here are some of the mistakes. So they fail to convert because they don't have an intentional funnel, or there's no client journey that is mapped out and designed ahead of time. The call to actions, they're either really vague, they're disconnected, or they're non-existent. And so the listeners don't have a next step. And their guest appearances and the strategy that they're using, it's disconnected from their overall marketing strategy. It's almost like it's like a silo, right? They're just showing up on the interview and hoping that they get more exposure and people will reach out. It's almost like throwing spaghetti on a wall and hoping it sticks. What you want is your topic that you're sharing on the podcast and the conversation that you're having. You want that to tie in directly to the solutions that you offer and your offers, whether they're resources, courses, coaching, whatever it is. So your topic has to be intentional. As an example, I could talk about email marketing all day long. I've been in it for years and have migrated email marketing platforms. I've been in it with all of my clients and so forth. But I don't actually have a service that is just for email marketing. And I'm not known as an email marketing expert. I just know enough to be dangerous. And so it would be pointless for me to show up on a podcast and talk about podcast guesting. That wouldn't bring me an ROI and it wouldn't bring me leads and clients. So why is a funnel essential? So if you are using podcast guesting to grow your business, it works best when it's tied into your funnel. You want to turn passive listeners to active leads. You want to align your conversation with your offers and the client journey. And you want to create that consistent, measurable ROI, right? For your efforts and the time that you're promoting and you're recording, making those connections, all of those steps. So you can, see the results that you're getting with your clients. You can seed your programs. You can tell stories about your clients, about your own transformation, and inspire the audience and guide them straight to your solution seamlessly. Again, you don't want to just show up and hope that they like you enough to try to search for you online and figure it out what it is that you do and how you can serve them. You want to be really intentional and very strategic. And so I'm going to give you my quick overview of the 3-step framework that I have for creating conversations that convert and for integrating your podcast funnel into your podcast guesting marketing strategy. Step number 1, reverse engineer your funnel. Start with the end goal. What action do you want the listeners to take at the end of the road? Do you want them to hire you for your done-for-you service? Do you want them to go into a membership program that you have? Do you want them to buy, products and bundles? Do you want them to say yes to your coaching program? So really think about what is going to move your business forward, what excites you, and what is going to help you scale and grow that much faster. So you want to use podcast guesting to fill that pipeline and get them to take action along the way. So first, you want to start with a topic that is sexy, that the host and the audience knows exactly who it's for, how you're going to help them, and what they can expect. And your talking points needs to relate to the listener, right? It has to be relevant to them for them to have their interest piqued and to listen to the whole episode and say yes to your next step. And you want your call to action to be strategic as well. You want it to solve a problem. You want it to be the natural next step from listening to all your good points that you said on the episode to be like, oh, yes, what's next? Yes, I'm going to grab that guide. I'm going to grab that template. It's going to make me, it easier for me to move forward and fix my problem. So you want to design your talks that directly correlate between the pain point of the listener and your offers. And so all your talks, your lead magnets, you all want it to tie it directly to what that main goal is for yourself. Podcast guesting has to support your objectives. And I'll give an example. So I had a client, she's in note investing, which is just one form of real estate investing. And sometimes she was on podcasts and they were asking about her journey, her background, and inadvertently, the differences between different kinds of real estate investing, because she had done it all. So what happened is the conversation was like all about all these different kind of real estate investing methods that she's been involved with. And sure, that's interesting, but it's not positioning her as an expert in notes. And it didn't showcase herself that she was an expert and that that's how she educated people and that's how she helped them with her workshop. And so at the end, when she had a call to action to sign up for a video series, I can't remember what it is right now, but they had no real motivation to check it out, right? Because the conversation was kind of all over the place, talking about different kind of real estate investing. Again, it didn't solve a problem and it didn't showcase her as an expert within note investing. So once we changed her topics and had it more aligned with her goals, she got more leads and more butts and seats on her workshop. So again, you have to be very strategic, thinking about your funnel and what that end goal is. Step number 2 is crafting an aligned talk topic, the interview questions, and the stories that you tell. And so let me give you an example. So you know how we have a one sheet and we pass that on to the host. Typically they have, a list of 3 or 4 topics. And then on the side, there'll be a list of interview questions that the host can ask. But quite often what happens is that list of interview questions, 2 of them are kind of like general, like about your journey, about what it is that you do, your expertise. Some of them are about like topic number 1, a couple of them have to do with topic number 2, a couple of them are like that cover topic number 3. But what happens is the host may pick a topic, quote unquote, but they don't know what to ask. They don't know the right thing to ask you to set you up to talk about what differentiates you, right? Your expertise, your own transformation, how you turn things around for your own business, what your method is, your formula, your framework. They don't know how to set you up to talk about things in a way that will position you as that expert and showcase yourself as the solution to a problem. So they grab that one sheet and they naturally default to that list of questions. So what happens is you may agree that this is the topic, I'm using air quotes here, the topic that you were planning on discussing, but they ask all those questions. And so what happens is the conversation is all over the map. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. And so you're not showcasing yourself as the expert, and people don't see you as a solution. And so what you want to do is give the host, yes, the topic, get them to decide, or you decide what topic, and then give them a list of interview questions that are specific to that topic. Now, next, you want to make sure that you're crafting your answers ahead of time. Winging it is not helpful. You may think you know all the stuff in your head, and quite often you do. I'm not saying you're not an expert, but what happens is they may ask something in a slightly different way, and you understand it in your head, but you need to communicate it in a way that makes sense for the listener. It has to captivate them. And sometimes when you wing it and you answer, your answer isn't clear. It's not concise. You end up saying like disjointed sentences, or you kind of go about it in a roundabout way, and then you get sidetracked and your whole message is diluted, and you don't come across as an expert. There's no conviction. You want to sound confident. You don't want your answers to be generic. You want them to differentiate yourself. Again, your framework, your method, your process. What makes you unique? So I went through this exercise with one of my clients in the podcast, that Conversations That Convert program. And so we crafted the topics, we wrote down and figured out what are the best interview questions and how would they be framed. And so I'm like, okay, here's one of the interview questions. How would you answer it? And so he kind of gave a long-winded answer. It was sort of vague. And so I'm like, hey, I know we can do better. So I started asking them more questions and pull more information out about what was in their programs. What exercises do your clients do? What worksheets? What strategies? Like, really explain to me what you're doing with a client in one of your one-on-one coaching experiences or in this course. And so I started to pull that information out, started to get examples and stories about people that were in that situation, what exactly they used, and we crafted the talking points for him so that it seeded his programs. And it shared a story where we explained result that one of his clients got. And he was like, this is genius. So I loved that. That made me so happy. And that was his exact response. And so he realized then how he worded things and how he framed them really made a difference on how he looked as an expert and how it showcased his results and seeded the program so that people knew how they could work with him. So that's just an example. And again, you sort of heard me talk here about stories that back up your answers, right? Because stories engage the listener. They relate to you better when they hear those stories. You can kind of like see their head nodding, right? Like, oh yeah, I totally have been there. Oh my gosh, yeah, I've had that problem. And then they're like, oh, that makes sense. The tip that you shared. Oh, right. I should have done that. And so when their heads are nodding and they're getting what you say and they relate to you, you've engaged them, you've captivated them, and they're going to, listen to your every word, and they're going to want to know what your solution is. And so I'm going to give you another example, and this more relates to like the topic. Again, how you want to keep it engaged and how you want it to be sexy and have people really understand it. So when I was guesting on podcasts, I hired an agency, and my topics were totally like, they were boring. So one was like how to grow your business with content marketing. It was so generic, right? Doesn't really entice people. They don't get a real clear understanding of what the episode's going to be about. When I changed it to like 5 social media marketing mistakes and how to fix them to attract more leads, That is very specific. They know what they're going to get from that episode, and so does the host. So when the host sees that title, 5 social media marketing mistakes and how to fix them, yes, you're going to give them those interview questions, but they know in their head that you're going to share 5 mistakes and how to fix them. So they're less likely to ask random questions. They'll be like, what is the first mistake? How do you fix that? What is the second mistake? How do you fix that? And how does that help attract more leads? And so even starting with something small, like changing the topic, can really help guide that conversation and set you up to answer things in a certain way that positions you as an expert. So step 3. So you've got the topic, you have mapped out your interview questions, you've crafted your talking points, your stories. Now you want to make sure that the listeners take action, right? You want to have clear and irresistible call to actions. So here's some mistakes that a lot of podcast guesters do. They either shy away thinking that I'm going to wait to be invited. I'm going to wait until the host asks me what resource I have to share with the audience. Do not wait. Feel free to, in the middle of you talking, say, actually, I have a resource that shares this template on how to do just that. Do you mind if I share it? Of course, the host is going to say yes. And then you can give the URL. But you need to give a call to action. Just hoping and wishing that people are going to try to find you and look you up, it's just not going to happen. The other mistake is sharing too many call to actions, right? You can go to my website, you can go to LinkedIn, you can find me here. Oh, I've got this resource here. You're going to confuse people. Stick to one thing that's going to solve a problem. Some people will just say, go to my website. You'll find all my resources there. When people go and they see like all the menus, all your sidebar widgets, there's so much text, they don't know where to go, and they might get sidetracked by something completely different and then not find the lead magnet and then not opt into your list. So you're more likely to lose them again. So you really want a direct line from your topic, what you're talking about, and your lead magnet. And then, of course, you want to make sure that your lead magnet in your funnel is leading to one of your offers so that you're nurturing them, so that they know how they can work with you and what problem you solve. So definitely make sure that you have a call to action. Now, another quick mistake is when people, guests will always share to book a call. Now, sometimes it works for people and it's great, definitely do some testing. But if your topic and your conversation is about something specific, and then you just say book a call, there may be a disconnect. If you're like, oh, I don't know, the topic is about leveraging and repurposing podcasts, and then you're like, book a call to learn how I can do this for you, that is a little bit more of a direct correlation. If you just are talking again about, a bunch of vague things, or your conversation, is kind of about random topics, or it's all over the place, or it's about 5 different things, and then you have a call to action, there's no reason or motivation for them to book that call with you. Again, if you're talking about Facebook ads and you figured out a way to get a big ROI for only $100 a month, and you're like, hey, book a call with me and I will show you how to do it, or we'll work together so we can do it together, then yes, there's that direct correlation between your talk and the solution. So you just kind of have to be a little bit careful with that book a call to action. And so I'm going to give a brief recap here. So what I want you to do to get some quick wins here and have some action steps is to, 1, look at your offers. Do you have lead magnets that directly correlate and guide your prospects to that service? Number 2, look at your talk topics. Do they relate to the audience and their pain point? Is it something that they care about? And does it relate to your offers and your funnels? So is it a bridge between what your avatar needs and what you're serving? Third, map out your interview questions that will help the host guide the conversation that sets you up for success and makes you look like an expert, positions you as an expert. And fourth, map out your talking points so that you're clear, you're concise, you have stories that illustrate your points. And fifth, make sure that your call to action is a natural next step. And it's a no-brainer for the audience, and they want to dive in and they want to grab that guide or whatever it is. Now, if you're like, okay, Lindsay, that all sounds great, but I would love to have some help to guide me through that whole process. So I do have a podcast, Conversations That Convert program. And in 4 90-minute one-on-one strategy sessions, we work together. We structure your interviews to position you as the expert, seed your programs, and attract leads and clients. So when we work together, we reverse engineer your offers so that your podcast talks, that hosts are rushing to have you book, and that compels the audience to take action. We align your message, your audience, and the offers so that we create conversations that resonate with the audience, but also leads to meaningful conversations, conversions. We create 3 irresistible talk topics that podcast hosts just can't wait to get you booked. And we create your interview questions that position you as a leader and an expert in your field. We craft your talking points so that aligns with your goals. And of course, we create memorable story sound bites that seed your offers, right? That illustrate your success and inspire the audience to say yes. So if that sounds like something that could help you, just email me at info@smoothbusinessgrowth.com. And if you want my free worksheet and framework so that you can create that yourself and use the template that I have for you to help you map those podcast interviews and position you as an expert and get more leads, then you can go to leverageyourpodcast.com/worksheet. So you can either grab my free guide or worksheet, the framework, or you can, of course, reach out to work with me one-on-one so that we can craft it so that your podcast guesting interviews will have so much more ROI and position you as an expert. So I hope that was helpful, and we will see you next week on the Leverage Your Podcast show.